Today's video is sponsored by Aura.
Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!
In this exploration of the Planet of the Apes series, I will dive into the reimagined and expanded universe introduced by the new films, including Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, and the latest installment, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Each movie chronicles the evolution of both apes and humans, focusing on the legacy of Caesar, the conflict between species, and the eventual emergence of a new world order. These films masterfully blend action, science fiction, and deep philosophical themes, charting the rise of a new era where apes and humans must navigate an uncertain future. From Caesar's rise to power and the struggle for peace, to the ongoing fight for survival 300 years later, this saga offers a gripping narrative of leadership, war, and the possibility of coexistence in a world transformed by genetic evolution. In San Francisco, scientist Will Rodman works at Gen-Sys laboratories, where he has spent 5 years developing a genetically engineered retrovirus known as ALZ-112. This drug has the potential to cure Alzheimer's disease by not only repairing brain cells, but also enhancing them, giving chimpanzees a level of intelligence comparable to that of humans. One of his test subjects is a chimp named Bright Eyes, recently captured from the West African jungle. Bright Eyes exhibits remarkable cognitive growth, but 2 months into her trial, she suddenly goes on a rampage. Security is forced to kill her in front of the lab's board members, thus halting any progress on ALZ-112. Later, the truth is revealed. Bright Eye's aggression was not caused by the drug, but by her maternal instinct to protect her newborn baby. She had secretly given birth just days before her outburst. Will's greedy supervisor, Stephen Jacobs, orders the termination of all 12 test chimpanzees. However, Robert Franklin, the chimp handler, cannot bring himself to kill the infant. He gives the baby to Will, who names him Caesar, and decides to raise him at home. Over the next 3 years, Caesar grows into a remarkable young chimp, inheriting his mother's genetically enhanced intelligence. Will teaches him sign language with the help of Caroline Aranha, a veterinarian Will has begun dating. Meanwhile, Will's father Charles, who suffers from Alzheimer's, shows great improvement after Will administers ALZ-112 to him in secret, but the effects are temporary. 5 years later, Charles's immune system develops antibodies against the virus, causing his condition to return, and this time much worse. Before we continue, I'd like to introduce the sponsor of today's video, Aura, and it's the perfect time to talk about them. Hackers may have stolen the social security numbers of every American. Over 2.9 billion records were stolen from National Public Data, a service that provides personal information for background checks. Now that information is online, potentially in the hands of hackers. These stolen records include full names, addresses, birth dates, social security numbers, phone numbers, and even alternate names. Worse, this hacker group reportedly released the data for free online. This makes me really uncomfortable and concerned. Personal information should be private. If you've ever experienced identity theft, you know how stressful and invasive it is. I've been through it, and the aftermath is a mess. If you haven't been protecting your data, now's the time to start. Your information has never been more vulnerable. I'm not as worried anymore because I use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura constantly scans the dark web for my personal info, whether it's my phone number, email, or social security number, and alerts me immediately if it finds anything. If someone tries to use my information, Aura notifies me right away, and if the worst happens, they cover me with up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. Aura offers much more than monitoring. They've packed everything into one app, from password management to financial fraud protection. You can take control of your online safety right now by using the link in the description to try Aura free of charge for 14 days. That's plenty of time to see if your personal data is exposed. National Public Data won't protect you after this breach, and they likely won't face any consequences. But you can protect yourself. I'm not leaving my family vulnerable to data breaches, and you shouldn't either. Go to Aura.com using the link in the description to try it free for 2 weeks. Protect yourself before it's too late. In a state of confusion caused by his dementia, Charles accidentally gets into his car and causes a minor accident, attracting the attention of a bad-tempered neighbor, Douglas Hunsaker. As Hunsaker threatens Charles, Caesar intervenes, attacking the man and biting off his finger. This act of aggression leads to Caesar being taken away and placed in the San Bruno primate shelter, run by John Landon and his abusive son Dodge, who works there as a guard. At the shelter, Caesar is initially treated poorly by both the other apes and the human staff. He struggles to adapt, especially under the cruel eye of Dodge and the dominant chimp Rocket. However, Caesar soon befriends Maurice, a former circus orangutan who knows sign language. With Maurice's guidance, Caesar begins to observe and plan. He soon finds an opportunity when Dodge carelessly brings visitors too close to the cages. Caesar steals a pocket knife, uses it to escape from his cell, and frees a powerful gorilla named Buck, securing his loyalty. With Buck at his side, Caesar challenges Rocket for dominance in the shelter. After knocking Rocket unconscious, Caesar earns the respect of the other apes. He reinforces his leadership by sharing food and promoting the idea that apes are stronger together. This sparks a sense of unity among the apes, who begin to see Caesar as their leader. Meanwhile, at Gen-Sys, Will develops a more potent version of the virus, ALZ-113, hoping it will help his father. This strain is even more effective at boosting intelligence in apes, but has a deadly side effect for humans. During a test on a scarred bonobo named Koba, Franklin is accidentally exposed to the virus and begins showing symptoms of illness. Later, Franklin is found dead, and the virus begins to spread. Back at the primate shelter, Caesar has had enough of captivity. He sneaks out of the shelter, returns to Will's house, and steals canisters of ALZ-113. Caesar releases the airborne strain inside the shelter, enhancing the intelligence of the other apes. The following day, the apes awaken with newfound mental capabilities, now fully evolved like Caesar. Caesar formulates a plan for their escape. That night, Dodge catches Caesar out of his cage and tries to subdue him with a taser. In an extraordinary moment, Caesar shocks everyone by speaking for the first time, yelling "No!" Then Caesar overpowers Dodge and locks him in a cage, freeing the other apes. As the apes rise in rebellion, Dodge regains consciousness and tries to attack Caesar again, but Caesar sprays him with a hose while his electric cattle prod is active, killing him instantly. Caesar leads the apes on a daring escape from the shelter. He splits his forces in two. One group, led by Buck, frees the captive apes from the San Francisco Zoo, while Caesar leads the other group to Gen-Sys to release the remaining apes, including Koba and others subjected to experiments. As the newly liberated apes march through the streets of San Francisco, chaos ensues. Their ultimate goal is to reach Muir Woods, a redwood forest across the Golden Gate Bridge. However, a police blockade awaits them on the bridge. Demonstrating strategic prowess, Caesar devises a three-pronged attack. Koba leads the chimpanzees across the high wires of the bridge, while Maurice and other apes navigate the lower supports. Meanwhile, Caesar, Buck, and Rocket confront the police head-on. Despite the humans' superior firepower, the apes emerge victorious, using both their strength and intelligence to overwhelm the police. Jacobs arrives in a helicopter, attempting to turn the tide, but Buck sacrifices himself to protect Caesar, causing the helicopter to crash. Jacobs survives the crash, only to meet his end when Koba exacts his revenge by pushing the wreckage into the bay. With the battle won, Caesar leads the apes to Muir Woods. There, Will finds him and pleads for Caesar to return home, warning him of the dangers humans pose. But Caesar, now capable of speech, tells Will Caesar is home. Understanding that his former companion has chosen his new path, Will gives Caesar his blessing and leaves the forest. Unbeknownst to Will, the virus he created has already begun to spread. The neighbor named Hunsicker, infected by Franklin, happens to be a pilot. As he boards a plane at the airport, his bleeding nose goes unnoticed. A flight map shows the virus spreading rapidly across the globe, marking the beginning of a pandemic that will decimate humanity and leave the apes to inherit Earth. After the Simian Flu outbreak devastated humanity, starting with the first carrier, Hunsicker, who unknowingly spread the ALZ-113 virus globally, civilization collapsed. Entire governments crumbled, and martial law was declared as the world's population plummeted. Civil unrest, power outages, and millions of deaths led to the eventual economic and societal collapse of every nation. In the wake of this catastrophe, 10 years after the outbreak, humanity's remnants are scattered across the globe. Meanwhile, Caesar leads a thriving colony of apes deep within the Muir Woods, a secluded forest near San Francisco. His group consists of survivors from the ape sanctuary, most notably Rocket, Maurice, and Koba, a scarred bonobo who had been subjected to cruel experiments at Gen-Sys laboratories. Under Caesar's leadership, the apes have built a peaceful society based on unity and strength, living by the creed "Ape not kill ape" and "Apes together strong." Caesar now raises his family in this new world. He and his mate Cornelia have 2 sons, the adolescent Blue Eyes and a newborn named Cornelius. Life appears stable, but the tension between apes and humans is always lurking beneath the surface. Although they haven't seen humans in 2 winters, Caesar occasionally wonders if any survivors still exist. One day, while hunting in the woods with his son Blue Eyes and Rocket's son Ash, Caesar's worst fears come true. A group of humans led by a man named Malcolm stumbles upon the apes. Tensions flare as Carver, one of Malcolm's group members, panics and shoots Ash, wounding him. Caesar and his apes immediately surround the humans, but instead of retaliating, Caesar chooses diplomacy. He orders the humans to leave the woods and sends Koba to follow them and assess the situation. Koba tracks the humans to the ruins of San Francisco and discovers that a small colony of genetically immune survivors has taken refuge in a fortified tower. Dreyfus, their leader, is a pragmatist preparing for the worst, but Malcolm, his right-hand man, sees something in Caesar that gives him hope for peace between the species. When Koba reports back to Caesar, the Ape Council debates whether to wage war against the humans, believing them a threat. However, Caesar, mindful of the apes' progress and achievements, is reluctant to engage in conflict. He understands that war could destroy everything they have built. Koba, on the other hand, burns with hatred for humans due to the torture he endured in their labs, but he tells Caesar that he will follow his orders without question, swearing loyalty to the ape who freed him. The next day, Caesar leads an impressive show of force to the humans' tower. Speaking to the astonishment of the human survivors, Caesar declares, "Apes do not want war, but will fight if we must." He demands that the humans stay in their territory, while the apes remain in theirs, returning Malcolm's son's lost satchel as a gesture of peace. Malcolm, determined to preserve this fragile truce, persuades Dreyfus to give him 3 days to negotiate with the apes for access to a hydroelectric dam located in their territory. Restoring the dam would provide the colony with much-needed power, allowing them to communicate with any other surviving human outposts. Reluctantly, Dreyfus agrees but prepares for war, sending his men to arm themselves. Malcolm returns to the apes' village, where he humbly requests permission to work on the dam. Despite Koba's objections, Caesar agrees, on the condition that the humans give up their weapons and work unarmed. Over time, a tenuous bond forms between the humans and the apes, especially after Ellie, Malcolm's wife and a former nurse, treats Caesar's ailing wife Cornelia. Trust begins to blossom. However, Koba secretly resents the growing alliance between apes and humans. His hatred deepens when he discovers an armory in the human colony and realizes that Dreyfus is preparing for war. Koba confronts Caesar, mocking him for his apparent affection for humans. Enraged, Caesar beats Koba but refrains from killing him, citing their law, ape not kill ape. Koba outwardly submits, but in his heart he plots to overthrow Caesar. That night, Koba takes action. He steals an assault rifle from the armory and kills 2 human guards. Then, under the cover of darkness, he ambushes Carver, brutally murdering him and stealing his belongings. Koba sets the ape village ablaze and shoots Caesar, making it appear as though the humans are responsible for the attack. As Caesar falls from a cliff, gravely wounded, Koba seizes the opportunity to take control. In the chaos that follows, Blue Eyes discovers the gun used in the attack and shows it to the other apes. Koba manipulates the tribe, blaming the humans for Caesar's death and rallying them for war. Under Koba's leadership, the apes launch a violent assault on the human colony, storming the armory and hijacking weapons. A fierce battle ensues, with heavy casualties on both sides. Despite the humans' best efforts, Koba's apes overwhelm them, taking control of the city. Amid the destruction, Blue Eyes begins to see Koba's true nature. When Ash refuses to kill an unarmed human, citing Caesar's teachings, Koba mercilessly kills him in front of Blue Eyes and the other apes. "Caesar is gone," Koba declares. Apes follow Koba now. He imprisons Maurice, Rocket, and other apes loyal to Caesar, while forcing the remaining humans into containment cells, intending to make them know life in a cage. Meanwhile, Malcolm, Ellie, and their son Alexander, who had hidden from the rampaging apes, find Caesar, barely alive, and bring him to safety. Caesar reveals that it was Koba, not the humans, who shot him. Weak but determined, Caesar leads Malcolm and Blue Eyes to his former home, where they retrieve medical supplies and begin treating his wounds. While recovering, Caesar reflects on his mistakes, realizing that his belief in the inherent superiority of apes over humans was flawed. Apes, he now understands, are no different from humans, capable of both greatness and corruption. Once Caesar regains his strength, he rallies his loyal followers. Blue Eyes frees Maurice, Rocket, and the other imprisoned apes, and they sneak back into the city through the subway tunnels. Malcolm warns Caesar that Dreyfus plans to detonate C4 explosives to bring down the apes' stronghold. Malcolm pleads with Dreyfus to give Caesar a chance to restore peace, but Dreyfus reveals that the military is already on its way. Believing that he must save the human race, Dreyfus detonates the explosives, sacrificing himself in the process. The explosion partially collapses the tower, injuring several apes. Amid the chaos, Koba picks up a gun and begins firing wildly, injuring Maurice. Enraged, Caesar confronts Koba in a final battle. The two apes fight fiercely across the crumbling tower until Koba is left dangling from a ledge. Desperate, Koba reminds Caesar of their law, ape not kill ape. But Caesar, looking down at the devastation Koba has brought, replies, "You are not ape," before letting him fall to his death. With Koba gone, the remaining apes rally around Caesar, who reclaims his leadership. Malcolm warns Caesar of the approaching military reinforcements, urging him to flee, but Caesar knows that war is inevitable. "War has already begun," he says solemnly. "Apes started war, and humans will not forgive." In a quiet farewell, Malcolm and Caesar acknowledge the tragic loss of their shared hope for peace. Malcolm and his family slip away into the shadows, while Caesar, surrounded by his family and followers, prepares to lead his people into the coming conflict. As he looks out over the horizon, Caesar braces for the war that Koba's treachery has unleashed, a war that will decide the fate of both apes and humans. 2 years after the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Caesar and his tribe are entrenched in a brutal war against the humans. Despite Caesar's initial desire for peace, the conflict has dragged on, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The US military, seeking to eliminate the growing threat of intelligent apes, called in a rogue military faction known as Alpha Omega, led by the ruthless Colonel McCullough. Among the colonel's forces are apes called donkeys, former followers of Koba, who now serve the humans out of fear of Caesar's retribution. During an early skirmish, the Alpha Omega battalion attacks Caesar's base in the woods, but the apes resist fiercely. Several soldiers, including a gorilla named Red, are captured. Caesar, ever the diplomat, orders the human prisoners to be released as a gesture of goodwill, hoping to send a message to the colonel that he did not start the war and still desires peace. Red, however, is to be imprisoned for his betrayal, but before this can happen, Red escapes, injuring an albino gorilla named Winter in the process. Soon after, Caesar's eldest son, Blue Eyes, and his trusted Lieutenant Rocket return from a long journey with promising news. They have discovered an oasis beyond a vast desert, a sanctuary where the apes can live in peace, far from the reach of humans. Although Winter, still shaken by the recent attack, suggests leaving immediately, Caesar decides they need more time to prepare for the arduous journey. That very night, their fragile peace is shattered. Colonel McCullough and his soldiers infiltrate the apes' home behind a waterfall. In the dead of night, the colonel kills Blue Eyes and Caesar's wife Cornelia. When Winter cannot be found, Caesar and his loyal gorilla, Luca, suspect betrayal. Overcome with grief and rage, Caesar resolves to seek vengeance. Leaving his younger son, Cornelius, in the care of Blue Eyes' mate, Lake, Caesar sets out to confront the colonel. Accompanying him on this dangerous mission are Maurice, the wise orangutan, and his closest advisor, Rocket and Luca. Meanwhile, the rest of the apes begin their journey to the desert sanctuary. During their quest, Caesar's group stumbles upon an abandoned village. They encounter a lone soldier, and in a moment of reflexive violence, Caesar shoots him dead when the man reaches for his rifle. Inside the soldier's home, they find his daughter, mute and seemingly unable to communicate. Maurice takes pity on her, offering her a small doll and insisting she travel with them. The girl, now named Nova by Maurice, joins their journey. As they continue, the group finds Winter at an Alpha Omega camp. Terrified for his life, Winter had betrayed Caesar's location to the colonel in exchange for survival. Caesar, in his fury, attempts to silence Winter when he tries to alert the guards, accidentally suffocating him in the process. Haunted by the memory of Koba, Caesar begins to fear that his desire for revenge is transforming him into the very thing he despises. The group soon encounters a chimpanzee named Bad Ape, an eccentric hermit who survived the Simian Flu pandemic in a zoo. Bad Ape informs them that the colonel's forces are stationed at a former quarantine facility near the northern border, which has become a fortress. Despite his reluctance, Bad Ape agrees to guide them there. Upon arrival, they discover that hundreds of apes, including Caesar's clan, have been captured by the Alpha Omega forces and are being forced to build a massive wall around the facility. During a reconnaissance mission, Luca is killed protecting Caesar from a patrol, further fueling Caesar's thirst for vengeance. Ignoring the pleas of his companions, Caesar goes in alone but is soon captured by Red. Inside the facility, Caesar learns the Colonel's twisted philosophy. The Simian Flu virus has mutated and now causes surviving humans to regress to a primitive state, robbing them of speech and higher thinking. The Colonel, driven by fear and fanaticism, has taken to executing anyone showing signs of infection, including his own son. Those who refused to comply with his brutal methods were also killed, leading to the current siege by the remnants of the US military, who are coming to execute the Colonel for his rogue actions. Caesar is tortured with starvation, but Nova, the mute girl, sneaks into the camp with food and water. She leaves her rag doll behind, a small token of kindness that will have dire consequences. When the Colonel discovers the doll in Caesar's cage, he unknowingly contracts the virus from it. Despite his weakening condition, Caesar devises a plan for escape. With help from Maurice, Rocket, Bad Ape, and Nova, the apes begin tunneling out of the facility. As the Northern Army launches its attack, Caesar confronts the Colonel one last time. But when Caesar finds him, the Colonel is already dying, infected by the virus that he so feared. Unable to speak, the Colonel silently pleads with Caesar to kill him, but Caesar, recognizing the futility of revenge, leaves the Colonel to his fate. The Colonel takes his own life. During the chaos of the battle between Alpha Omega and the Northern Army, Caesar makes his move. However, he is shot by Preacher, one of the soldiers he had previously spared. In a moment of redemption, Red sacrifices himself to save Caesar by killing Preacher, but is executed by Alpha Omega for his betrayal. Caesar then detonates the facility's fuel supply, causing a massive explosion that wipes out the Alpha Omega forces and allows the Northern Army to claim victory. However, the explosion triggers an avalanche that buries the entire battlefield under snow. Caesar and his fellow apes, along with Nova, survive by climbing into the nearby trees, watching as the last remnants of the human armies are swallowed by the avalanche. The surviving apes continue their journey across the desert, finally reaching the oasis that Blue Eyes had discovered. While the apes celebrate their new home, Maurice notices that Caesar has been gravely wounded. In his final moments, Caesar reflects on the future of his people. Maurice promises that Cornelius will know who his father was and the sacrifices he made for the apes. With that reassurance, Caesar passes away, his legacy secured. The apes, now free from the threat of human oppression, begin to build a new society in their peaceful sanctuary, carrying forward the ideals of their fallen leader. And so ends the story of Caesar, the leader who rose against humanity, fought for peace, and ultimately sacrificed everything for the future of his species. His legacy will live on in the hearts of the apes, who now look toward a hopeful future, free from war.
Caesar is home.
Before we continue with the video, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the character of Caesar. Sometimes we come across characters that shake us, that show us the depths of what it means to be a leader, to be human, or in this case, to be an ape. The story of Caesar is one of those that not only tells us about the struggle for survival, but also speaks to us about sacrifice, peace, and the power of our choices. Caesar was not just a leader, he was a being who, from his earliest moments, understood that true strength is not measured by the power you have over others, but by the impact you have on their hearts. When he had power, he didn't use it to oppress, but to liberate. When he faced hatred and betrayal, he chose the harder path, the path of peace, even though that peace cost more than war. In Caesar's world, we learn that being a leader is not just about taking the reins in times of chaos. It's about knowing when to stay calm in the midst of the storm, recognizing that revenge only perpetuates the cycle of pain, and understanding that sometimes personal sacrifice is necessary for others to thrive. Caesar teaches us that no matter how dark the path becomes, we always have a choice. And that choice defines not only our destiny, but also that of those who follow us. In his death, Caesar left a legacy of hope, of unity, showing that a better world is possible if we have the courage to look beyond our differences and work together. Through his actions, Caesar reminds us that the greatness of a leader is not measured by their victories on the battlefield, but by their ability to inspire, to unite, and to leave a legacy that transcends their own time. Because at the end of the day, what truly matters is not how we live, but how we leave the world when we depart from it. 3 centuries after the war between the San Francisco ape colony and Alpha Omega, new ape clans have emerged from the oasis Caesar had once led his people to. Humans, having lost their intelligence due to the Simian Flu mutation, have devolved into a feral state. Ape societies now flourish, while humans exist in primitive tribes. One such chimpanzee, Noah, belongs to the Eagle clan, a group of falconers who live in harmony with nature. Noah is preparing for a coming-of-age ceremony, which involves collecting eagle eggs with his friends, Anaya and Suna. During their adventure, a human scavenger follows them back to their village, leading to a scuffle where the egg Noah had collected is cracked. Angered and frustrated by this disruption, Noah sets off on a quest to find a replacement egg. However, during his search, he encounters a group of raider apes wielding electric weapons. Noah narrowly avoids capture, but his horse is tracked, and the raiders follow its trail back to his home. Upon returning to his village, Noah finds it under siege. The raider leader, Silva, overpowers Noah's father, Koro, atop the clan's aviary tower. Before Noah can intervene, he is knocked unconscious and falls from the tower. When he regains consciousness, his home is in ruins, his clan has been captured, and his father lies lifeless. With a heavy heart, Noah buries his father, swearing to rescue his people and restore their freedom. As Noah embarks on his quest, he is joined by an orangutan named Raka, who imparts wisdom about Caesar's teachings and the once great ape king's legacy. Along the way, they notice the human scavenger following them. Raka offers her food and Noah's mother's robe for warmth, giving her the name Nova. However, the girl surprises them both when she reveals that she can speak, introducing herself as May. May informs them that the raiders have taken Noah's clan to a coastal settlement outside an old human vault. Determined to free his people, Noah presses forward with Raka and May by his side. But their journey takes a dangerous turn when they are ambushed while crossing a bridge. In the ensuing battle, Raka sacrifices himself to save May, falling into the river after Silva cuts the net from the bridge. Swept away by the rapids, Raka's fate remains unknown. Meanwhile, Noah and May are captured and taken to the coastal settlement. At the settlement, Noah is reunited with his clan and introduced to the self-proclaimed ape king, Proximus Caesar. Proximus, a distant descendant of Caesar, has twisted his ancestors' teachings, using them to justify the enslavement of other ape clans in his pursuit of lost human technology. He forces the enslaved apes to labor in an attempt to open the vault and access the human weaponry locked inside. During their imprisonment, Proximus invites Noah and May to dinner. At the table is Trevathan, a human who has allied himself with the apes and is teaching Proximus about the old world. Proximus, sensing Noah's intelligence, believes he knows how to open the vault and warns him not to trust May, claiming she has her own agenda. That evening, Noah's mother Dar confides in him that their clan now belongs to Proximus. Distraught but resolute, Noah draws courage from a pendant given to him by Raka and is acknowledged as the leader of the Eagle clan by his father's eagle, symbolizing the passing of leadership. With renewed strength, Noah confronts May, demanding the truth. May reveals that the vault contains a mysterious book capable of restoring human speech, and she knows a hidden entrance to the vault. Reluctantly, Noah agrees to help her, but he has his own plans, to destroy the vault's contents and free his people. Working in secret, Noah, May, Suna, and Anaya plant explosives around the levee that protect the vault and settlement. However, when Trevathan discovers their plan and tries to warn Proximus, May kills him to prevent their mission from being exposed. Inside the vault, Noah and May find a military bunker housing a stockpile of weapons, as well as May's book, which is revealed to be a deciphering key for a satellite system. As they prepare to leave the bunker, they are confronted by Proximus and his tribe. Proximus threatens to kill them all, but May uses a gun to kill one of Proximus's lieutenants, Lightning, forcing Proximus to negotiate. He offers May freedom in exchange for the location of the other weapons, but May refuses. Against Noah's protests, May triggers the explosives, flooding the bunker and settlement, drowning many of Proximus's apes. Amid the chaos, Noah is pursued by Silva. In a final confrontation, Noah outsmarts the raider, trapping and drowning him. After escaping the flooded bunker, Noah is attacked by Proximus, who demands that Noah kneel before him. However, instead of submitting, Noah rallies his clan to summon their eagles. The eagles swoop down on Proximus, driving him over a cliff to his apparent death. With Proximus defeated, Noah's clan returns to rebuild their home. May bids farewell to Noah, explaining that humans deserve another chance to reclaim their place in the world. Noah, however, expresses doubt that humans and apes can ever coexist peacefully. Despite their differences, he gives May Reika's pendant, symbolizing hope for unity between the two species. May travels to a quarantined human settlement located at a satellite base. There, she delivers the deciphering key, allowing the humans to reactivate the satellite network and successfully make contact with another human outpost in Indiana. As May takes her first step towards rebuilding human civilization, Noah, now married to Suna, gazes through a telescope at the sky. Together, they ponder the future of their world, uncertain but hopeful, as they face the dawn of a new era. Hey, don't go just yet. If you enjoyed my video, I'd love to recommend another one for you to watch.